What's going on, everybody out there, and welcome back to another episode of the Dark Avenger comic book review, the series where I like to talk about the comics I've read in a specific week right now instead of in the week before because I've fallen behind. October has gotten very busy. It had gotten very busy once we hit the middle of the month, and here we are. This episode 525 is for books that came out October 18th, 2023. But we are already in November of 2023. So I want to get this review out there. No graphics. We're going to be making it a shorter review. I'm not going to be doing as much of a descriptive review of the books. To get this out there, get into next week's books, which I've already started reading. So before I forget any of the books in this review, and I want to give all these books the spotlight they deserve because I enjoyed every single book in this review. So I want to give them the respect they need and the spotlight they need for the review. And I don't want to diminish the reviews. And also, I've missed 2 Dark Avenger lives, and I don't want to do that. So you're probably watching this during the day on Monday, and I'm going to be doing Dark Avenger live at night, where I'll talk a bit more about this. But let's just say I started recording this review last night, noticed that there was an issue with this computer, had to immediately stop and shut this computer down for 24 hours until I could get what I needed for it to start working okay again and not worry about it exploding. So here we are, 24 hours later. I want to get this out. So a lot of great books this week. There were really a nice amount of books this week. We're going to start with the Independents, as we always do. Antartica, issue number 4. I really am enjoying this miniseries. If you haven't jumped on board with Antartica, I don't know what to tell you at this point. At 4 issues in, wait for the trade, or if you're willing to go back and get the single issues, I would say this is worth going back to 3 issues to get. This has been a very interesting series, and I called it in the end of the last issue. The gunshot was not for the person we thought it was for. It was for somebody else. And all the team from the opposite Earth wants to do is go back home, while there are people on that Earth as well who are suffering, who want to also go over to that Earth, because apparently this is a mirror world where things have gone to hell, and they want to find a way into the good Earth. And there's some other stuff about one of the main characters' husbands and her daughter. I really like this series, and I like the development, especially at the very end of the issue. If you're not reading Antarctica, jump on or wait for the trade. But this was a very good series. This is a very good series so far. There's more to go. Kill Your Darlings, issue number 2. This was a great book. If you didn't read issue number 1, read it. The ending was wow. This issue picks up right where that issue left off. Now, in the end of the last issue, Rose ended up setting her parents' house on fire while they were still inside, killing them. We jump ahead to Rose being in an institute now. Obviously, she was found guilty of killing her parents. They considered it a mental disorder. And now she's I would say she's a teenager, possibly, maybe young adult. And they're trying to bring her back outside of the ward and get her out in the world again. And everybody knows what she's done, and everybody treats her harshly because they're afraid that she's going to do the same thing again. They're all worried she's psycho. She has a boyfriend. Things happen towards the middle end of the issue. Things go crazy, and then we get introduced to another character who Rose thinks she's delusional, but it turns out her boyfriend can see the character as well, and the character basically breaks her out of the institute, and she's needed to go somewhere. And that's kind of where the book leaves off. If you're not reading Kill Your Darlings, read this book. I thoroughly am enjoying this series. Robin Hood Dark Shaman, issue number 1, one shot, what have you. Robin Hood teaming up with a shaman. It was a lot of fun to read. This was actually one of the first books I did read because I love Robin Hood from Zenescope. Artwork was great. I love how something happens to Robin Hood in the book. I don't want to say what, and it's up to the shaman to kind of save her without giving away too much on that. And it turns out that he is a descendant of another shaman, and there's this big fight at the end. And I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but I do love this one shot. It was a really fun read, really long read as well. So if you're looking for something that's a bit thicker than usual, this is definitely a book for you. I've been loving everything coming out of Zenescope, everything that I could jump in on. It's been spectacular. Zenescope has been knocking it out of the park with every single new issue I'm reading. TMNT issue number 144, The Turtles versus the Doc. They win in the end. The reason I'm jumping to they won so quick is because that's not the end of the issue. After beating the Doctor, every one of the turtles decides to kind of go their own way. Aliplex decides to leave and move into the country, into Alaska, um, to get away from everything in the city. Leo and Donnie decide to go their own ways on kind of like a road trip. Michelangelo staying behind and doing his thing with April and his podcast. And then Donatello with April and, oh my God, I keep forgetting her name. Eventually I'll remember it. The female turtle, the other female turtle, not Jenica. Jenica stays in New York as well. He's preparing for apparently a coming Armageddon. And this leads into the time travel. And starting with the next issue, it's the road to issue 150. So apparently issue 150 is going to be a big event. My prediction, it's going to involve time travel. It's going to involve saving Splinter. And everything that has happened up to this point is going to be changed. And once we get to issue 151, the Turtles are going to be moving forward in a completely different direction. Maybe Shredder will be back to the way he was pre, promising Splinter he would protect him. Maybe this will involve changes way before the events of issue number 1. Who knows? But it's going to be very interesting to see what this all entails and how this will affect a lot of characters. Okay, we're going into Marvel now. Avengers Inc. issue number 2. I really enjoyed the second issue. If you're not reading this book, it's fun. It's got Vision coming in now and starting to question the person that Wasp is working with, because that is Vision's person. That was him when he was alive or when he wasn't Vision. And he's uncomfortable with the whole situation. He thinks that it's Whirlwind acting the whole thing out, that it's not real. Sorry about that recording issue, but we're back. Anyway, so Vision's questioning Whirlwind, like I was saying. And now you've got this other murder mystery that's going on while this interaction with Vision and Whirlwind is going on. And now it's up to the three of them to figure out who the killer is. And they do. And Vision is starting to question, still he questions how this person's alive. And he said the only person that would be able to do that technology has been dead for years, and that's Henry Pym. However, we know at the end of the last issue that that's not exactly the case. I'm looking forward to seeing where this series goes. I am very invested. This was a really fun issue. If you're not reading Avengers Inc., this is something you might be interested in. DareDevil issue number 2. Really enjoyed this issue a lot. DareDevil working now in the church. He's having issues with the police who are saying that because all the kids that he's taken in have troubled pasts, and now people are complaining about noise, about this and that. So he's dealing with the police now that are harassing him. He goes into Daredevil mode, and now Daredevil ends up caught in the middle of like a gang war or whatnot. And he's got heat from the gang now who says they're going to be out by tomorrow and they'll just be back looking to find Daredevil again. So I feel bad for Matt. Matt's got a lot of stuff going on at once, plus what's happened in the first issue that is also looming in his mind. So Daredevil, this is a really good run so far. I'm really enjoying it, and I would definitely recommend this series. The last Daredevil I read was by Mark Waid, and I loved it. This series is definitely building up to compete with that Daredevil series to see which one I like more. I love the artwork. I love the story. Definitely read this book. Invincible Iron Man issue 11, continuing the connection to the Fall of X. Iron Man goes in looking for more of the mutant metal, and he goes in his new suit, which can go invisible. He goes to Krakoa in order to get it back because it's in Emma's old room, and she's watching as this is going on. There's a fight with an ape. You want to know what I'm talking about? Read the issue. But Iron Man is able to get what he was there for and leave without being detected. However, somebody else is watching from the shadows. And again, though, this connects to other X-Men books because it says if you want to know who's hiding on Krakoa, read this book. No. I mean, I might be already, but no. It's one of those things where if you don't read every single X-Men book, you're going to miss something out of this gigantic puzzle. And I know that I just did previews for, I believe, January. And now we're going to get that mini series that's going to bring this whole Fall of X to an end. That's going to be starting. And it couldn't end soon enough, in my opinion. But again, we have until January before this kind of crescendos, and then we've got to see what happens next with the X books. Are they going to all end and then start again? Are they all going to move forward in their own direction? Are they all going to be connected to, I mean, it's the Fall of X. Is this going to be like X-Men being back, in society? Are they going back to the manor? A lot of questions, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. But I'll be glad when this big event's done, and hopefully all the books then will go into their own entity again, which they should be. They should be connected, but not to the point where you have to read all the books in order to get the full story. Connected in the sense of they're all together. These are the X-Men. All the teams work together. However, they all exist in different places at different times in different stories. So you don't have to read X-Force in order to know what's happening in X-Men and Immortal X-Men and Iron Man and all these other miniseries going on. I think every book should have its own story and connection. It's way too much, very overwhelming for new readers. I will say this until this event is over. It is very overwhelming, and it's so daunting that I know a lot of people have dropped X-Men before this event happened. Spine Tingling Spider-Man issue number 1. If you didn't read the whole one shot of all this, the Marvel Ultimate, only on the internet, now in print finally, this is a nightmare version of Spider-Man. There is horror. This is not the Spider-Man you're used to reading. He goes to bed and he is stuck in a nightmare, and there's only one way for him to get out. We find out at the end of the issue that, but we watch Peter as he's living through this nightmare, and it's crazy. I am definitely in for this series. Artwork is pretty good. But again, this is more of a horror story. Funny how it's happening right before Halloween, but it's going to be going way past Halloween. But definitely something if you're into the horror side of Marvel to read. We're going to go into DC, and I know all of you probably have said, Chris, you missed Green Lantern issue number 4. I know it slipped through the cracks. I get my physical books at the end of the month. Didn't realize that I didn't review it. Here we are, issue number 4 of Green Lantern. I loved it. Mysterio wants to get off of Earth. And in order to get off of Earth, he needs Hal Jordan's ring. Tries to use the ring. Ring doesn't work. Green Lantern ends up teaming up with the Flash in order to stop a bomb or whatever that Sinestro left to get away. Ends up teaming with Flash over in Flash's neck of the woods for a bit. I love how Flash is like, don't give up on Carol if you really love her. Even though she's engaged, she ain't married yet. Do something about it. And I've been loving Green Lantern. As far as the second story, I'm sorry, I'm here for the main story and the main story alone. If you want to know about the secondary story, again, it's a backup. It's so that DC could charge you that extra $1. Do we need it? No. I'd rather save the $1 and want to continue buying Green Lantern without having the worry of paying that extra $1. But, Green Lantern War Journals issue number 2, which did come out this episode for this week. We have John Stewart now. The lanterns that attacked him in the last issue ended up on a different world, ended up getting possessed and coming back and fighting John again. And it turns out that the woman that gave them or possessed them ended up being somebody that John knew. And this is a long story short. John ends up going to Metropolis, getting a job at Ironworks, wanting to move his mother into Metropolis, wanting to move into Metropolis. However, this event happens, and I'm not going to spoil the ending to this issue, but it does look like John is going to have to deal with this issue now, or else an outbreak is going to happen. I've been truly enjoying this miniseries. Something you might want to check out. Nightwing issue number 107. Pirate Nightwing. We get to see Nightwing in a pirate outfit. His ex-girlfriend is the leader of the pirate group. And I love it because, you get that flashback of when he was Rick and how he left this girl because he had to become Dick Grayson, Nightwing again. And he didn't want to drag her through That, and I think also we all know that Barbara and him were getting a lot closer, so he knew that him and Barbara, those feelings don't die. Once you get your memories back, it's like, I love you, but me and Barbara have that history, and I love her, and obviously they separated. So now we're getting brought into this issue and this problem that Nightwing has now injected himself into, and it turns out that it was his ex-girlfriend's father, and now he's teaming up with her in order to bring light to this organization that's causing trouble. And of course, he has to get rid of his mask and his costume. So he separates from Oracle, and now Nightwing is basically on his own for the rest of this adventure. I'm loving it. I love Pirate Nightwing. I think it's awesome. I am totally down for this. I'm glad I jumped back into Nightwing. I did drop it for a little while. I think I only dropped it for a couple of issues because I was there for Nightwing 100. But I'm really happy to be with Nightwing again. Batman Superman World's Finest issue number 20, the event we've all been waiting for, Kingdom Come. So remember that boy all the way back at the very start of the World's Finest series? Yeah, I forgot him too. He disappeared, and Superman promised he would find him and save him and bring him back. Flash, for some reason, running through the multiverse and showing all the different multiverses out there, somehow ends up passing the Kingdom Come universe and finding him. He tells Batman and Superman they prepare to use the cosmic treadmill to get to this universe. However, they're going to be stuck there possibly, but they're going there to save this boy and bring him home. So they travel through time. They end up way in the future, and then they end up back in the they end up more tangible because they were kind of like see-through at that moment. But then they jump a little bit back into the past, and now Superman and Batman are tangible, but now they're trapped on this world. And they go into civilian clothes. They go around, they go through. I love how they went to the restaurant. If you didn't read Kingdom Come, you really should. But the restaurant that's kind of like Batman's little trophy room, so to speak, with all the different superhero costumes from the past. Obviously, Kingdom Come is a possible future, not a definite one. So they're in the restaurant, and then something happens. And of course, Superman jumps into his costume. Batman jumps into his costume. However, they don't realize that this world doesn't exactly like the original superheroes. Shit happened that caused all the heroes to kind of go into retirement a bit. And that's where this issue leaves off. Yes, loved it. Definitely down to see where this if you're not reading World's Finest, now is the time. Now is definitely the time to read it. Anyway, let's move into Superman issue number 7. This was another fun issue. Lex Luthor trying to get out of jail to help Superman, who released this person now who has more powers than him and apparently can stand toe-to-toe with Connor, Superboy, because the Super Family ends up getting involved in trying to stop him. Superman finds a way out of the chains he was locked in, and now it becomes this huge battle. And Lois is at I think it's wherever Lex is, and she ends up helping him leave. And we get the biggest twist at the end of the book. I left out a whole bunch in the middle. Read the book. But there's a twist at the end of the book. I hesitate to tell everybody in this episode, but you know what? If I'm going to do for one issue, it's going to be this one. And that is, we get to see a return of a character we haven't seen since the late 90s, early 2000s. And we get to also see another character debut. Spoiler. Be warned, until I put my hand down, this is a spoiler. We get to see the debut and the reveal that Lex Luthor's mother is alive and there, and she's been taking care of Lena Luthor. We haven't seen her since she was a baby back in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, and then she just disappeared off the map. Obviously, the New 52 happened, and it erased everything, but apparently she's been growing up, and she's a teenager now, and holy shit, okay? The daughter's back, and the mother apparently is alive. Yes. And also we do find out that Brainiac is sort of involved a bit. Could involve Lex Luthor. It does involve Lex Luthor's daughter. So they're going to be dealing with this, and then we're going to be seeing more of Brainiac as DC leaves off in the end of the issue in 2024. So we're going to be dealing with Brainiac in the future. We knew this was coming after the annual anyway, so this shouldn't be a shocker to anybody. We're going to end off this week with the biggest book that was talked about from DC Comics to come out this month, and that's Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong, issue number 1. This was the setup. How did King Kong and Godzilla get in the DC universe? Well, of course, it was the Legion of Doom. And this, and I love it, does not take place in the main DC universe. How do we know this? Because Superman was going to propose to Lois in this issue. So this is an alternate DC universe. We don't have to worry about how this will impact the main DC universe. It is its own standalone universe, whatever you want to call it. It's its own little thing. I know DC announced Elseworld. I'll talk about that on Dark Avenger Live, but this story is in its own book. It's confined to the book, not to the DC universe, and I like that. It explains, it's okay that the Legion of Doom brought Godzilla and King Kong into the DC universe, and even after this miniseries is over, that's all it is. It's a miniseries, a what if the Legion of Doom was able to do this kind of thing, and I love it. And of course, it's all Toyman's fault. Go figure. His joining the Legion of Doom, obviously by the end of the series, he's going to probably end up getting kicked out of the Legion. But anyway, I also did like Grodd meeting King Kong in that universe for a time. We didn't see King Kong in the DC universe. We've only seen Godzilla enter Metropolis so far. Again, this was all what we've seen in the previews, how it happened, and then we jump back into the present day where the Justice League is dealing with Godzilla, to be continued. Yes, totally down as a Godzilla fan, as a King Kong fan, and as a Justice League fan. This is all three of the things I love, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this mini series goes. Absolutely, 100%. I am in. And with that, that is it for this review. Guys, I'm going to work really hard to get the next review out as soon as possible. I'm working as hard as I can. Bear with me. I am bringing Dark Avenger Live back, even though we're behind on reviews. It has to happen. I don't want the whole channel to fall behind. October was a very busy month. It happens. It's going to happen every once in a hopefully great while. But instead of just falling and disappearing into the sidelines, we're here, and I'm going to be pushing through and trying to keep this review on track as we move to episode 550. Hopefully by the time we get to way before 550, we are halfway there. We have 25 more episodes before then. So hopefully by the time we're at 550, everything will be sorted. The channel will have all the things that it needs to. We'll have all the series doing what I want them to do. And we'll be living in harmony. As always, links in the description below. The gaming channel, the vlogging channel, or the entertainment channel, which eventually will get started. Both of those channels eventually getting started. The Twitch, the social medias, all of that down there. Follow at your leisure. Till next time, everybody. Love y'all. Thank you for bearing with me through all of this. Take care. Keep reading, keep collecting, and I will see all of you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.